Because we talked a little bit about Monken last week, I think.
Whether to be a good head coach.
Did you see some of the numbers that they've put up and what he's been able to figure out?
Graphic they throw.
I mean, they're top 3 in everything. Like first time since the greatest show on turf. Mm-hmm. And listen, here's the thing about the Ravens. They got obviously a quarterback that nobody ever thought would be this good. He's electric. He's good. He is who he is. Like there's no changing it. You got a guy. They've got Derrick Henry added to the group. Certainly a good mix. But they are not littered with people. They are not the old Chiefs. They're not the 49ers of the last few years. That's not their group. They do it with a style. They do it with the guys they have. Heck, the Eagles have more weapons than they do. Saquon, AJ.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Hands down.
Devontae, all of them. So I think what he's done with that group, and in a, what's this, second year for him?
Yeah.
He leave Georgia after last year?
Yeah.
So 2 years in, obviously you get Derrick Henry. That's a nice add. But what he's done with their offense to keep it going at the NFL level, what he did with Georgia should be noted. It won 2 national championships, and it wasn't just on the heels of their defense. Monken was very good. Now, I love Todd Monken. Monken's a cool dude.
He was here in Jacksonville.
He was Jags wide receivers coach. But he's been around the block, the experience of that, knowing how to work with different quarterbacks. Who's the guy? What's your guy? Georgia won national championships?
Murray?
No. Who won the
Stetson Bennett?
Stetson Bennett. Thanks.
Oh, my bad.
Sorry, I forgot his name. But he made Stetson Bennett into a national championship quarterback. Right?
He was raw.
I mean, that's pretty impressive on your resume.
Yeah.
What I don't know, much like we don't know about a Ben Johnson or anybody else, is they good? Can they be the head coach, right? Can they be the guy that rallies men, right? All the things that you hear about. Is he a leader of men? All this stuff. X's and O's, yes. What about that? I don't know. But if you're going to give a shot at Ben Johnson or one of these guys, if you're not going Mike Vrabel because you know that guy can do that, if you're going to go in this different bucket, why aren't we mentioning Monken more?
Yeah.
Like, why is everybody just on Ben Johnson? Monken has so much more experience. He has a resume that's more filled up than being the tight ends coach of Detroit, getting that job, and now doing excellent work with the Lions alone. This guy's done it at 2 levels. This guy's done it with Stetson Bennett, with all due respect. Love him. Was a great run, but won national titles with Stetson Bennett in college.
Yeah, this dude, I mean, since Jacksonville, back in 2007, he was here to 2010, was Oklahoma State's offensive coordinator for a year, then became the head coach at Southern Miss, became offensive coordinator and wide receivers coach at Tampa Bay for a couple years, then the Browns offensive coordinator for a year, then Georgia offensive coordinator for 2 years, and then Ravens. So he's been around a lot in terms of, like different atmospheres, collegiate, professional, different teams. Yeah, he's done a lot, Brent.
What did he do at Southern Miss? And Southern Miss, by the way, is an interesting animal. You can win there, but
they
you
were
also
0-12, and he turned them into they were Pro Bowl by year 3.
Really?
They were 0-12 before he got there, the season before.
And then what did he do? Just rattle it off if you don't mind, if you have it.
I don't have 2013. It just says,
so
got a dramatic turnaround that saw the Golden Eagles become postseason bowl participants by the end of his 3rd year, and then he left.
Okay.
So he goes...
He went 9-5 in his last year.
Yeah.
9-5. Oh, they must have played in like a championship game. Anyway, Southern Miss, even if he didn't do well there, I wouldn't mark it against him.
Well, he probably didn't do well in Cleveland, though, either, did he? If he was there for a year? Or I can't remember what happened in 19 for Cleveland Browns. I feel like nothing was good in Cleveland.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
Listen, perfect resume note. Nobody, there's going to be questions. My curiosity is, this guy's got a deeper scope, and there's more to latch onto. Again, Ben Johnson, everybody's in love with. I understand. You'd be happy. I still have this major question. If Ben Johnson can, what people are thinking is he's going to create what they've done in Detroit. That's Dan Campbell based. That's organizationally, as I wrote in my article last week and haven't worked since, it's deeper than that, okay? Very good X's and O's guy, brilliant play caller. You heard Mike Mularkey said he's one of the best he's seen. Mm-hmm. That's great. That does not make you a good head coach. And it doesn't make you a great head coach. And so that should come as concern and a question mark. It's not a knock on him. It should be a question mark. Monken at least has done it. and he's seen it at the multiple levels. He's done it at high levels. He's won championships. He looks like he's on his way to doing some great things here with the Ravens as well. Again, they were good last year. Like, he's really had success in different styles, quarterbacks, all this stuff. I think Todd Monken was a huge part of the Georgia success. Huge part of this
no doubt.
success.
We loved him.
And what he's done since, it's great to see. Because, again, we know him just a smidge. I'm not going to claim to know him a lot. But once in a while, I'll shoot a text to him, just say, congratulations, I win the national title. Great guy. You know he'd be a good guy in the building. Mm-hmm. He's familiar with the area. Why not him more? Like, why aren't we saying his name more? What's the red flag there? Why not is what I would say if you're going to look at a bunch of candidates, which I actually don't think there's a long list of great candidates. That's one of the reasons I think Shad Khan hesitates right now. It's Ben Johnson, it's Mike Vrabel, it's Bill Belichick. After that, the well runs shallow, right? Mm-hmm. As in terms of names that you're like, oh yeah, let's go. Well, I think Monken should be on that maybe top 4 list. Maybe somebody else is in there I'm missing right now, but if you don't get one of those 4 guys, or 3 guys right now, and Belichick obviously comes with a lot of hesitancy, but if you don't get one of those guys, are people like, oh, crap? Are people excited? Who are they excited about if you get your 5th choice, a name we're not hearing? I think you could get excited about Monken's resume, though. I really do.
It's the draw. Part of the Ben Johnson is the young, because we want a LaFleur,
yeah,
McVay,
that's a good point. That shiny toy.
Mike McDaniel, O'Connell. All these guys, all these up-and-comers are all young. And I think part of it is Monken has the same look and vibe as Doug.
He does.
Same
but
age.
But is that bad? See, here's why I don't think that's bad. I think Doug's a good coach. Overall, I think he's a good coach.
But when something doesn't work, you want something different.
Correct.
I do.
Hamby. Yep.
I'm not, but I don't think they're the same guy. I think he's of the same
cloth. They're I think they're the
they're mid-50 white guys. I mean, so they certainly in their offensive guys that have been less head coach and more.
There's
OC.
more similarities than not similarities.
Yeah, I get why you put him in the bucket, no doubt. Where Vrabel looks the same, but would be in a different bucket on the other side of the ball, right?
Correct.
I'm not even sitting here and telling you that would be my top choice. I just am surprised we don't see his name a little bit more mentioned in this cycle.
But see, I get you, but I think I agree with Hamby here, where it's almost like when you have things done a certain way, you almost go the exact opposite direction. Like, look at the Lions. You had what? It was Matt Patricia?
Yeah.
Well, what do you replace him with? The exact opposite, Dan Campbell, it seems like.
Yeah, if you had told me that 4 or 5 years ago, I'm not sure I would have said. You said Belichick tree with Patricia.
Oh, no, for sure. Yeah.
Now, Patricia, I don't even know what he is. Like, he's mad scientist.
Yeah, exactly. Right? He's an offensive guy. He's a defensive guy. But, he seems a little more, I don't say he's not like a leader of men, but he seems just more analytical than he does actually rah-rah.
No, you're right.
Like Dan Campbell, I think analytics be damned sometimes. I just think it's hey, I'm doing things my way.
Ben Johnson cited his offensive scheme as being influenced by Kevin Rogers, Darrell Bevel, nice. Adam Gase, Clyde Christensen, and Mike Martz.
That's Ben Johnson?
Take the head coach out of it. Just remember as coordinators, all right? You say Adam Gase. Don't think of the Adam Gase head coach. Think of Adam Gase the coordinator.
I remember talking actually to somebody in the offseason. I think it was this offseason. And I said that. I'm like, what tree is he from?
Yeah.
And it's really a compilation of many that Ben Johnson comes from.
He's only been
if I'm not
3
mistaken.
places.
Yeah. I mean, remember, this was a guy that was a tight end coach. They fired the OC, and they're like, okay, we're going to make you the guy. He had no pedigree to do it, right?
No, for sure. But do you think Ben Johnson has the advantage over Monken? Because I feel like Monken and the offensive coordinators there, whether it's Greg Roman, it's almost a revolving door where it's hey, it doesn't matter who the offensive coordinator is. When you got Lamar and everybody, it seems to be going really well. As opposed to if you look what the Lions have done in terms of an offense the past couple of years, they had to build it up from scratch.
Yeah.
I feel like the Ravens have always just been kind of doing their thing, regardless of who's calling the plays.
I think that's right. You know what? You lead me to a top. Let's take a break. When we come back, I'm going to ask you this because I heard a quote from, again, maybe I should listen to postgame, which I actually think goes way too long on ESPN after Monday Night Football. But Kyle Hamilton was on, and he said something that resonated with me about if the Chargers can do it, why can't the Jags do it? I'll explain that when I get back, and I want to get your thoughts on it because I thought it made a lot of sense. And are we looking to the wrong spot in the Detroit Lions?
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Hey, the Jag season has been a struggle, but you can still go to the game and get an experience you've never had. Win a cool experience with the Everbank Shadows sweepstakes, a couple of club seats, get autographed merchandise, plus get an opportunity to be right outside the Jags locker room. It's called the Vault. As the players come out and exit the tunnel, that's part of the pregame Shadows experience. The sweepstakes closes on December 15th for the final couple of games of this year. One Brent and Austen Show viewer already was a winner, by the way, so you can be too. Get in at everbank.com/sweeps/shadows experience. That's everbank.com/sweeps/shadows experience. Pretty cool thing there for the Jags games. And listen, you got a few left. Might as well try to experience it in a little bit different way and be a winner right when you walk in with the sweepstakes.
I haven't been to a game yet this year.
You haven't been to a game?
No.
You haven't either.
I haven't either.
You lucky sons of guns.
Hey, now.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
This one's not going to be. This is going to. They better bring juice. This is going to have no app. This is not going to be.
It's going to be a rough one, you think?
It's going to be rough. It's going to be rough. I mean, why would it not be now? It's going to be a good football day. It's like 37 degrees when you wake up.
Yeah.
Probably get to like beautiful football weather.
That's that Big Ten weather.
But I don't think there's going to be a lot of people there. Now, listen, the tickets are already sold and stuff. Like, it is what it is. But Houston's not bringing people.
No.
And these are two teams that really have zero excitement around them. Zero, right?
Well,
now.
I mean, you got to have some excitement. It's just a lead in the division if you're Houston.
No, I get it. But zero momentum. How about that?
Sure.
Zero momentum. Because I thought about this from Houston's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
They're scared as hell about this game. Because this game means a lot. The next three, there is a lot of pressure on this game. They have played poorly.
Sure.
The last couple of weeks well, they just played poorly. They beat the Cowboys really good, I think, but they're not playing great football. They're at 7-5. They had a stranglehold on this division by felt like 4 or 5 games. It probably never got to that high. They have the Chiefs and the Dolphins and the Ravens coming up next.
Mm-hmm.
They play a team like the Jags that are way better than their record. You know they're saying that in Houston. They probably think that. And they're coming off a bye, so they're fresh. So there's the pressure to perform in this game. And I'll add one more thing. It is panic time in Houston if they lose to the Jags because they would back-to-back weeks lose to 2-win teams. So there's
Stroud's reeling a little bit.
There's a lot on the line for them.
Yeah.
The Jags are playing whatever, right? They're also playing pretty loose. They know the pressure that this team has felt for a year is gone. It's gone. There's no pressure. They're just going to go play. There's no expectations.
Well, there was no expectations 2 weeks ago, Brent. And
I get it.
come on.
But
or a week ago.
They really, it's over, right? So there's that feeling, which you just play naturally a little bit more loose. You even hit rock bottom. You hit rock bottom last week. I don't think you're losing 52-6 to Houston. I don't think.
I hope not. But, I talked about this to start the show off. I wouldn't be surprised if we're sitting here saying, CJ Stroud, what's up with him? Well, if he has a get-right game.
Yeah. And he might.
Can that stop being the narrative, though? Can we stop having the get-right, go against the guys that have the get-right game, the Caleb Williams game, the Jared Goff game, the Saquon Barkley 180 jump game, the CJ Stroud get-right game?
The thing about it, Austen, to me, and guys, this is not new in Jacksonville. This is what I'm talking about. The feeling that you have about that, okay, is a Jacksonville-built thing because they've been beaten by backup quarterbacks. They've disappointed so much. They've disappointed this year. And so you take that notion that you just said going into this game, and now you add it to one single player in Trevor Lawrence. And really, that's what I'm talking about by scar tissue. That's what I'm talking about by negativity. That's what I'm talking about by climbing the mountain. That's what I'm talking about when it comes to the injury stuff. That's why, to me, it's important he plays and plays well down the stretch so he doesn't have more of that mounts against him. And I know some people are like, well, what's the point? What's the point? That's the point. That is the point. The point is to play out of that. Play as much as you can to lean on, we did this. We did that. It looked better. Trevor, you can make a case. Even when they, I think, went 2-2, played good football in that 4-game stretch. They went 2-2, but they played good football. He did. It wasn't his fault necessarily. He also had 3 games that weren't very good at the early part of the year. So that's exactly what I'm talking about when you said, well, they're going to come in here and they're going to get right. Well, you want to be able to say, that's all right, we got Trevor. Yeah. We got Trevor coming back. Like, the notion in Jacksonville this week should be, don't worry about it. Watch out, Houston. We got Trevor coming back.
Yeah.
That's what it should be. The offense is going to get better. We've got Trevor coming back. Yet it's still not there. First of all, we don't know if he's coming back for sure, so that's a little bit of a problem, but it's still not there. We have got to get to that point in Jacksonville at some point. That's the momentum, the equity. Those are the things that happen when you win. That Kansas City and Mahomes has been able to work with. Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. Right now, Goff and the Lions. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. These guys have been able to deal with that. Herbert has not been able to deal with that. He's got to deal with, we've lost 10 losses in a row up until last week in a game decided by 3 or less.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, and by the way, that doesn't happen overnight, but that's also the danger of this year. That's what we just watched this year. We just stacked more of that bull on top of the organization and Trevor and everything else that just stockpiles to have to overcome now in an offseason of talk and in 2025. That's why I believe these last 6 games are important for the Jags, to at least alleviate some of that. There's no way of fixing this season, but you can make it less bad with a good 6-game stretch.
Sure.
That's my point.
Yeah.
So everybody that doesn't think he should play, that is actually my point on that front. All right. Before the break, I asked you guys a question, or I started to phrase this, and I just put it out on social media. So Kyle Hamilton, in his postgame, said they are Baltimore of the West. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you know what? They kind of are. Like the Chargers.
Say that again? The Chargers are Baltimore.
Yeah.
I got you.
Well,
I'm sorry. Yeah. So he was talking about the Chargers. There was a lot of respect for the Chargers. And coming in, they had won 4 games. The way they looked, the style of play, obviously Harbaugh, and the Harbaugh name was so big.
Their coordinator, Greg Roman's now the coordinator of the Chargers, and they have J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, who are both in Baltimore.
And so, yeah, all that stuff.
Sure.
But the physicality, right? Chargers are not playing a finesse brand. They were playing a finesse brand. They were hurt all the time, so it felt like they were a finesse brand. Herbert was throwing it all over the yard. He was fantasy god because he was 83% of the time the ball was in his hands. Same thing Josh Allen did. They took that away from Josh Allen as much. He's not got the ball in his hands as much. They're better. Herbert, the same thing. They're better. They're more physical. They run the ball. They did it in a year. They did it in an off season. Why can't the Jags do that? Like, why? Like, Malarkey had a good point last week, and another one of his things that he said that I'm surprised didn't get a little bit more play in Jacksonville. Mm-hmm. And he really likes Doug Peterson as a coach. Like, he respects Doug as a coach. Mm-hmm. But he said, the difference is you got a guy in Dan Campbell who's in the trenches, a trench guy. Mm-hmm. This tough guy, like by nature of position. Not to say Doug's not tough, but Doug's like comes from a position of quarterback, red jersey guy, right? Yep. In practice. And is that I'm not telling you that's the end all be all. Sean McVay's not a tough guy. They win, right? He doesn't come off as this tough guy. So you can do it different ways, but his point was not wrong either. You look at what Harbaugh's built, it's a tough, special teams is a tough area of the game, right? It's a physical area of the game. It's a run at you 100 miles an hour. And now look what Harbaugh's doing out west with the Chargers. He's created that too. But it can be done like overnight is my point.
No, it can't. Nope.
Why did they do it so quick?
Because they have an offensive line.
The Chargers do?
They addressed offensive line, yes.
But they did it in the offseason. That's my point.
Oh, okay. I mean,
that's
sure.
Overnight, but I mean an offseason.
Oh, okay. Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. Okay.
You can build. Okay. He's done it in an offseason.
Yeah. No, for sure. Offensive line.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you asked the question, like, me and Casey this exercise last week. Give me one pillar on the offensive line that you feel comfortable that can be a Pro Bowler 5 years from now. And you can say Anton Harrison, but I think if you look at the number, like I wouldn't put all my money on saying Anton Harrison is going to be a Pro Bowler 5 years from now.
That's fair. I'm not gonna. I won't do it either. I do like him.
So do you have anybody else?
No.
There you go.
And honestly, I don't know how good the Chargers' offensive line is. They drafted Joe Alt, and obviously that's been a good move, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean he had a couple plays last night, but like you're a rookie.
But they could have.
I think he's a rookie, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's a rookie.
Yeah.
They could have drafted Odunze, Neighbors. They could have got their quarterback another weapon because they had to reset their roster due to salary cap stuff with the Mike Williams and the Keenan Allens and everybody else. And they didn't. They chose to get beefier on the line. And that would be my point. Like, the Jags have to get better in the trenches. The Jags are we could talk about Trevor all we want and say, is he near the Lamars and the Mahomes and the Josh? No, hasn't been there. But what I did say watching football this weekend, he is just as good as a lot of these other guys in the league, if not better, and more consistent than even some of them. But what the Jags don't have is they don't even come close to the Ravens line, the Eagles line, I don't know about the Chargers line being that good, but it feels like they play with that.
Yeah.
The Lions line. Like, they don't come close to those guys in the trenches. And it's not just on the offensive line. The Eagles are the most dangerous team in the NFL, probably because of their both sides of the trenches.
Sure.
The Lions are the most dangerous team because they have explosiveness, but they know who they are, and they have a very good offensive line, maybe the best in the league, even better than the Eagles. Mm-hmm. So, and the Ravens play with a style, with an attitude, which they have for 20 years. The Steelers do the same thing.
Correct.
Right? Mm-hmm. So, as I look at, I did this whole article on the Jags should be the Lions, and I believe that. In the deep dive of their organization, they need an identity. They need a guy that's protecting the organization. That was my point of the article. I do think you have to be careful to be like Dan Campbell because he is a unicorn, it feels like. We haven't seen many guys come along like that.
Yeah.
The Harbaugh family made two of them. So they ain't a unicorn. Like, you can play football that way.
Yeah.
Tom Coughlin plays football the way the Harbaughs play football. Right? Mm-hmm. We've been seeing that for a long time.
But once again, I also think they're now blessed to have. And listen, with Jim Harbaugh, like we did with Kaepernick, listen, that takes talent, right?
Yeah.
Because Kaepernick doesn't have a job anymore, and nobody wants to give him a chance. And like we praise a guy like Doug Peterson for what he did with Nick Foles. So yeah, I think there is coaching talent there. Like they're some of the best coaches in the league when I talk about the Harbaughs right now. But they're also blessed to have, I think, two damn good quarterbacks, two elite quarterbacks, which I will go out and say. And obviously Lamar Jackson has shown that with MVPs and what he's been able to do, and I will put Justin Herbert in the elite status.
So I guess all this adds up to you're not getting the Harbaughs. Mm. Who comes close to the Harbaughs? Is that Belichick or, like, do they need a Belichick? Do they need a Vrabel in the organization to be able to get to that?
I mean, I've been adamant about it. I think you need a complete overhaul in terms of culture and attitude. And I'm not sure Ben Johnson can bring that. I know a guy like Vrabel can bring it, and I'm not advocating for Vrabel per se. I'm just saying a guy like Vrabel, I think, would be more suited for what this organization is going through right now.
Amy, how do you feel about Vrabel? I'm a little like, some of this is, we don't even know if the job's going to be open, but in one respect, we know this. Doug's been here 3 years and he hasn't brought that. He still can't get 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. Hasn't brought that. He's brought a lot of stuff. And I'll always give Doug more credit than probably the rest of the fan base right now will give. But he hasn't brought that. And like the next guy, does he have to solve that, Hamby, right? Like Ben Johnson might be able to scheme 3rd and 1, but is he going to culturally build, we're getting 3rd and 1 or what Derrick Henry and they got on their own 16-yard line yesterday, 4th and 1, right? Is Vrabel the guy that actually will build that snot running down your nose in the cold weather, blowing the smoke and beating your ass up on a January playoff game.
Yeah. Look, I haven't thought through the possibility of Vrabel a lot, but here's what sticks out to me. Every time we played the Titans over the last however many years that he was the coach, we knew exactly what they were, and we knew they were a tougher team than we were going in.
And we had more talent.
Right?
Most of the time.
But here's the immediate counter argument to that is this. Yeah, Derrick Henry. How much of that is just Derrick Henry? 3rd and 1, 4th and 1, the toughness. I get it, the whole defense as a whole. Their defense brought it every time. There was always kind of like a smash mouth defense. But you put a regular running back on all those Vrabel teams, does it look different?
Yeah, it's a fair point. I think he helped with their identity, certainly. But Derrick did not have a great last year there by his standards, in part because the offensive line wasn't very good. They ripped up their offensive line through injuries and retirement and other stuff. They reset it, and they weren't very good. And so even what Vrabel was trying to do, they couldn't do it last year. They couldn't run it. But what Vrabel did do in that game, even though he was on his way out and getting fired, is they still out-toughed the Jacksonville Jaguars in the finale on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
They still punched him in the mouth.
And listen, don't get me wrong, Derrick Henry is a very special player, and I always sing his praises. But Derrick Henry had to be that guy, because what were they going to rely on? Ryan Tannehill? What were they going to rely on? Well, I guess he was gone. Was he there for Will Levis last year?
He would have had Levis last year.
He had Levis last year. Were you going to rely on Malik Willis, Josh Dobbs? That's who you had.
Yeah, that's who they had.
It's not like you had a murderer's row of quarterbacks to pick from. So, yeah, it had to be Derrick Henry, because who else was it going to be?
Yeah, he did not have the talented teams. I mean, they really, outside of Henry. I mean, Henry was a one-man show.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, they've got players, by the way. They had
a defense, too.
Yeah, they had good defense. You got a lot out of those guys. But again, that's what you know you're going to have. Is it more important right now to know you're going to have as a baseline a defense that's going to compete week in, week out? Here's the deal. The Chargers offense isn't lighting up like the way the Ravens offense is.
Yeah.
But they know they're going to have a defense that's going to play. Right now, oddly enough, the Denver Broncos know their defense is going to come to play each day and keep them in the game. Even though they've got an offensive coach in Sean Payton, but he's kind of a tough guy, no nonsense, Belichick, Parcells tree, offensive guy.
Let me ask you, here's where I think what we're boiling down to is, at the end of the day, do we want an offensive mind or a defensive mind?
That's what we've talked about.
Right?
And I've been very adamant, I think they should bring in a culture builder, and that's more on the defense than it is on the offense.
Here's why I think many years ago, in this current situation, the majority of the fan base would have said, we have the offensive guy now, it didn't work, or it's not working, so let's go for the culture builder and let's go for the defense. But I don't think that's the case now. And I think it's because you look at the past 5 Super Bowl matchups, every one of those teams had an offensive coach. Every one of them. Obviously, the Chiefs have one offensive mind who's not the rah-rah toughness guy.
They're an anomaly, though.
Okay, fine. That's fine.
Because to me, they're like the Patriots of the past.
That's fine.
Which was a defensive mind.
But let's just take the matchups.
Okay.
Got to the Super Bowl. Okay. Last year, San Francisco.
Okay.
Okay. Obviously, Shanahan. Philadelphia the year before, Sirianni, offensive guy. Rams, McVay the year before. Cincinnati, offensive. Tampa Bay, Bruce Arians might be the only outlier in this situation, but he had Tom Brady, right? So, but other than that, you have the Rams, Chiefs again, 49ers.
Let me stop you there, though, for two things. And that's a good point. It's a fair point. First of all, I don't give a damn about the Super Bowl right yet. I mean, I care about being 2-9 and out of the mix in November. So there's a little bit of, can we fix what we can fix, and then we'll see where it can go. But I'll also say this about San Fran and the Eagles. When you say those names to me, and I understand they are offensive guys, that's not what I think about. I think they are going to beat you in the trenches, both teams. When San Fran's playing well, they out-physical you in the trenches. They built their trenches. Yes, they can be explosive. Deebo Samuel, tough dude, right? You think of that toughness, they going to out-physical you. Eagles, clearly. Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind is they're going to punch you. That's what comes to mind.
Correct.
Not like they're explosive. The beauty of them and the Niners is they become explosive on top of that, like the Ravens have now done. The Ravens are explosive on top of their physicality, right? And the Chargers will try to build that. They need more weapons on offense for Herbert and other things. The Jags don't echo that at all. And again, I'm not sitting here telling you I don't believe in that. I don't believe in, you don't play this game and be soft, okay? This is a tough, violent game. But the Jags do not scream tough. We even wondered 2 years ago when they were in the playoffs, can they beat a tough team? Can they beat a physical football team? And crazy enough, Austen, you know when that changed for me? That answer was the Ravens game.
Sure.
They got out-muscled for much of that game. In the fourth quarter, they said, screw you, we're punching back. And they punched them back in that fourth quarter, one of the great wins of the last however many years. And it really, that was like, damn, they can do this. Okay. That was an eye-opener. But other than that, the Jags don't scream that at all.
Hamby, what was the rest of the list?
That was it.
That was it?
What do you think about when they think of Buffalo Bills? You think about explosive or you think tough?
This is where I'm coming from. Like, Hamby, you gave good example. Did you say the Bengals or not?
Yes.
Okay. My argument to that would be, out of all those teams, who has been consistently in and out? Because right now people are ready to sell the boat with Kyle Shanahan. People are ready to fire Zach Taylor. Okay? When I think of consistency, I think of the Bills, I think of the Steelers, I think of the Ravens. Now, they haven't really gone to a lot of Super Bowls. So, yes, that is a caveat there. But year in and year out, we talk about, man, winning cultures, winning traditions, right? And you see what Tomlin's been able to do with far much less of a quarterback with Lamar Jackson or anybody else. You have Kenny Pickett, Mr. Smallhands, and other guys, and now he finally has a decent quarterback. And now it's like, all right, well, can the Steelers be the dark horse team? My point, though, is I think if you want consistency, if you want the identity, you want the culture, and it's never a sure thing. But I think of Sean McDermott, defensive guy. I think of John Harbaugh, special teams / defensive guy. And then I think of Mike Tomlin, defensive guy. It's all consistent. It's all, you know what you're getting, and year in and year out, you're probably going to have a winning record. Year in, year out, you're probably going to win a division. Like, yeah, go ahead. I mean, if you want the up and down, if you want the, Super Bowl here, here comes Zach Taylor coming back down to reality here. Like, if you want that, then maybe go with an offensive guy and maybe have that 2-year run of, we're talking about Super Bowls. Or if you want the gradual consistency, maybe plateauing a little bit, not getting the Super Bowl quite yet, but you always got a chance, then I think you go with the defensive guy.
Yeah,
the floor's higher with Vrabel, I think.
The floor is high, and
that's what you need.
I know that's not a great. Like, listen, I thought the floor was high with Peterson, like 9-8. You can't sleep on that in Jacksonville. I know that's not good enough, but you can't sleep on that. That is like really good. Again, I feel like everything doesn't have to be crushing Peterson. It's been a bad year. Hasn't hit the right buttons. Been awful on the mic. All these things are true. But the one thing, they haven't still established the identity. That's not the way they work. That's not the way their style is. Their style is more reaction to other people and how they're playing. It's not, this is what we do and we do it well. In fact, so much so that I do believe, Doug, when he goes back and says, we're going to go back to some of the things that we were doing well, because they're really just grabbing at straws the last couple of weeks saying, okay, let's plug this hole. Let's try this. Let's plug this hole. There's no method to what they're doing. You can see it. You can see it in a game. Offensively and defensively, they've lost trust in anything they do because they don't know who the hell they are.
Yeah.
They have no idea who the heck they are. And that is a problem in a sports. Like, you should be able to walk the best buildings, the most successful buildings. You walk in the building, you know who they are. When Tom Coughlin was a coach here, you knew what you were getting. You signed as a free agent. You got drafted. You knew what you were getting. There was no gray area. When Jack Del Rio was the coach, quite frankly, I think he opened the door to more gray area because Jack had some inconsistencies to him. Everything I had heard when I got here, some of the things that I saw in the first couple of years, there was gray area there. But you also knew he was going to give you a chance with what he wanted to do, the defense and the running the football. That's what they were. You now have to, the answer in the NFL today is to find that culture, that you know who you are, the defense that's going to, like Kansas City, has been one of the top defenses in the NFL the last few years. I know you don't think about it like that, but they've been one of the top defenses in the league. They can do that combined with explosiveness. Hard-nosed Lions, explosive. Hard-nosed, tough Eagles, but explosive. Ravens, hard-nosed, beat you up, explosive. You have to be able to do both. So, the Bills, another example, right? All these teams that we're talking about that are really good, the only team that doesn't really fit is like Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, that's why they're probably not going to be able to win, is because they don't have the explosive. They can't score enough. but you know that they're going to keep it tight for the most part. Most games going to be within a touchdown. Now are they going to be able to pull that thing off? Like, you know it when you walk into a game on a Sunday against the Pittsburgh Steelers. A little bit of my problem with the Miami Dolphins. Okay, they can light you up for 4-touchdown game, and they run these cool little plays that look like video games, but who are they? Like, they're not tough enough to hang with those teams.
So if you look at the Andy Reid situation of how it all shook out, I've talked about this before, not going to repeat myself, but he came into a great situation with great players. It's nothing to be an offensive-minded guy, come in a great situation, have the X's and O's on offense, and be like, all right, I'm going to hire a great defensive coordinator, and that'll change your identity on defense. Like, it's not hard to do. Sirianni did it, right? Like, he brought in Jim Schwartz a couple years ago. Okay, Schwartz kind of turned around a little bit. Like, you can have an offensive-minded head coach, hire a defensive coordinator, and change the attitude of your team. It's not hard. My biggest concern with this team is you don't have the players yet. Like, you don't have the players that are ready to go, hey, this is our team. You need someone to show you the way. So that's why I lean maybe more towards Mike Vrabel than I do a Ben Johnson, because at least I know I'm getting with Mike Vrabel. Now, maybe you can hire an offensive genius, and then that can be your identity. That's fine. But you just can't bring in another offensive guy and expect, hey, the X's and O's are going to win the day. No, because it goes deeper than that. You don't have the Kansas City Chiefs of 2013 where you had all the players put into place. All they needed was the right play calling and everything because the players can monitor themselves. I don't think the Jaguars are here yet. So you need a culture rebrand. You need a culture reshift. And you can't do that, I feel like, with a lot of offensive coordinators out there. So with Vrabel, I get it. There could be some animosity, Tennessee Titans guy, all this stuff. I know what he brings to the table. And I'd love to see what he can actually do with a pretty legit quarterback as opposed to a Ryan Tannehill, a Joshua
Mariota.
Dobbs, and a did he have Mariota, though?
I think he did.
Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, listen, I think it's a good point. The more you talk about it, and I know some people don't like it, it's not a sexy one. Stop with the sexy, folks. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, what's going to win, right? Like, who cares about the nice, shiny toy? The league has fallen into that, and sometimes it works. McVay, O'Connell has done that. I don't know enough about those guys, right? But I don't know what they do and what they're all about inside. Like, Minnesota seems tough with the Flores side of things, but they're explosive too.
Listen, watch Ben Johnson go to the New York Jets and just turn that team around, right? Maybe they find a new quarterback. They got the weapons there. They got the leadership there. I feel like I can see the New York Jets in 2 years being the talk of, that division, or at least being competitive. I can't see just an offensive coordinator coming here and saying, okay, we're going to change the play calling around a little bit. Now we're all good.
Yeah, like, it's not enough.
It's not enough for it.
Well, again,
it's not enough for the Jaguars.
That goes right. I mean, seriously, go check it out at actionnewsjacks.com and whatever the head story was on there at the same time. But I mean, that's really what that thing was all about. Who are the Jacksonville Jaguars? You can't answer that question. If you can't answer that question, that's a problem. That is a problem. We can answer that question about some of the good teams, the teams that we know that have been good, that have sustained winning. Again, Ben Johnson could come out in here and be a very good coach. I just think the idea that he sustains it is a little more difficult than if you get, like you're saying, a culture builder, a guy that you know who he is when you walk in that door. We know Dan Campbell in Detroit. They don't really know who we don't know who Ben Johnson is yet. Might be great. We just don't know. So I think that's part of it. Hey, before we hit a break, let's hear from Brian Thomas Jr. because you talk about things that you look forward to watching the next 6 games, like why to watch. I think this one's at the top of my list. I think Trevor Lawrence has a lot to gain. Hopefully he plays. I think the Jags, hopefully they pull off some wins and make people happy around here and at least put a smile on your face around the holidays if you want that. But I think the number one thing to watch for the next 6 games is how good of a rookie season is it going to be for Brian Thomas Jr. Caught up with him yesterday in the locker room.
I just went back home, chilled for a little bit, was able to go to the game Saturday night. That was really it. I really just went home and chilled, went and did a hunting Friday morning, Saturday morning, but that was it. That was really about it.
And to get away from the game for a little bit, that's what Doug Peterson talked about last night. Hey, let's just get everybody out of here, refresh. Has that worked? What has it felt like today?
Yeah, I feel like everybody came back refreshed, came back with a mindset, just finish this thing off strong as possible, and just go out there and do the best that we can do, finish strong.
Yeah. What are some changes you guys can make, like as an offense as a whole, to finish this thing strong the next 5 weeks?
Just come out, starting games faster, just being better with the little things, being more technical about everything that we do, and just coming out and just starting faster.
Brian, did you look over the first part of your season at all and look at film of it, or was it just like a complete and total breakaway?
I would say it was a complete, total breakaway.
I mean, that's kind of what everybody needed, though, right? Just totally get away from football?
Yeah, no, for sure. We've been going at it for 11 weeks straight. It felt good to be able to take a break and just relax for a second and come back in today, just get back focused, finish the season out strong.
Was there a mention today of, you guys aren't out of it?
Yeah, for sure.
So what does that feel like that at 2-9 you still give yourselves a chance here down the stretch?
Me personally, I feel like I'm never out of a fight. I come in with the same mindset each and every day to fight to the end and just see where that takes me. Me personally, I feel like we're never out of the fight. And I feel like everybody in the locker room came in with that same mindset, just wanted to finish off strong and just see where that takes us.
That is Brian Thomas Jr., just an even-keeled, a level-headed guy who's been terrific for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And if you're just jumping in, I think this is the thing to watch. He's got 42 catches for 689 yards, 5 touchdowns, 16.4 yards per catch. Everything we thought he'd be. Just everything we thought he could be. Let's just say that. Everything you hoped for him to be. And now, can you get him more catches? What's he going to end up with? He's got 6 games. Can he catch 4 balls a game on average, 5 balls a game on average? Can he get over 70? I don't know. I think it's a pretty low count right now where he's at 42. He had a couple of empty ball games pretty much. If he does that, another, I don't know, let's just do some quick math. 25 catches times 16, 400 yards. He'd go over 1,000 yards. If he can get 25 more catches, the way he's averaging will go over 1,000.
Yeah.
So 65 plus catches, 1,000 yards, maybe he ends up in the end zone 3 more times with 8 touchdowns. Tremendous.
Absolutely.
But I do think, to me, and I don't know if it is for you guys, but I think for me, it's the number one thing that I want to see over the next 6 weeks. I really just want to watch this kid keep develop so we can at least have in this offseason, into 2025, man, Trevor has got a guy. And these guys are going to be great for the next however many years.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to see the Trevor Lawrence and Brian Thomas Jr. connection continue to bloom. That's all I need to see, right? Some wins would be nice and everything, but as long as I can see that, that's your hope right there.
Delphonic says BTJ definitely better than Malik Neighbors. And Neighbors, I think the headlines come off as Neighbors is worse than if you really listen to it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do give credit to Brian Thomas Jr. He could be frustrated. I think we're frustrated for him at times. The people have been, what the coaching staff, it takes 2 weeks of talking about it for him to get the football on the first play of the game on a handoff just to get him involved. And then it was another 15 plays where he wasn't even involved. Why do we have to identify that? Can't everybody identify that? But he's been good. He's a different cat, really. I mean, he's a quiet dude. Mm-hmm. He doesn't love the spotlight, but he's handled things well. I know the sideline, he's been a little frustrated, but that's okay. You almost want to see that.
Well, and even with Neighbors, I'm not with Neighbors, I get it too.
Yeah.
And he's definitely a lot more outspoken than Brian Thomas Jr., but it's a mess right now in New York. And obviously, I think the Giants, they've lost that locker room more than the Jaguars have.
Yeah, I would agree.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Action Sports Jax primetime this weekend, 10:30 on Fox 30, 11:30 on CBS 47. Some of the schedules Thursday and Friday with all our newscasts actually are turned a bit upside down because of the holidays and football games and everything else. But we do have primetime regularly scheduled this Saturday and Sunday. Also, college football tonight, 7:30 on CBS 47 on Saturday. That will be the last rendition of that show for the fall as we start to lose the blitz and college football and other things in our lineup at this time of year. Hey, November, Nimnik Buick GMC is honoring the brave men and women who served our country. It's a great holiday weekend to shop for a vehicle. And Nimnik is proud to announce their partnership with Canines for Warriors. and support their mission. This month, as a token of Nimnicht's appreciation, they're offering $500 military appreciation discount on select new Buick and GMC models. Who makes your purchase go further for veterans? Nobody but Nimnicht GMC. We are professional grade. Check out Nimnicht Buick GMC off Phillips Highway or NimnichtBuickGMC.com. Brent Martineau, Austen Lane, Jason Hamby on this Tuesday of a short week for us. Again, tomorrow will be the final show of the week as we head into the Thanksgiving holiday. Then a big month of December ahead and off to 2025. Believe it or not, we're almost a year into this venture.
Man, crazy, isn't it?
Sports 24/7 Network. We made it so far.
Time flies when you're having fun, bro.
Yeah, it does. Hey, Dewey Wingard, he's a fun guy to be around. Let's Cam Little, too. We'll hear from him. He was a fun guy to be around last night on the show. Let's hear from Andrew Wingard in the Jags locker room yesterday as he and this Jags defense tries to find some answers.
It's just good to get away. I mean, honestly, not myself, but these guys have been at it since August, and that's a long time. And just you gain a lot of perspective when you take a step back and get away from it and take some time off. So I think that's what it means collectively, for sure.
2-9 record, but you see the division, the standings, and all that. We've seen what this team has done in years past. It's tough to replicate that, but there's an example of this team doing it before. How much is that talked about, or are we way too far away from that kind of stuff?
We're just going to go try to win 6 straight. That's the only thing we can do. So, and it's possible. I mean, like I said, I've been on bad teams here. It's not a bad team at all. It's a really talented team, really good players, and it's the NFL. Welcome to the NFL. So I'm excited for this game. We're all excited for this game. We got, haven't had much success against these guys in Jacksonville, and that shouldn't be a thing. So excited to go out there and play in front of our fans this week.
Where does this defense begin to turn the tide the last 6 weeks? I mean, we know the rankings and everything that's gone on defensively this year. What's the first step to kind of improve down the stretch?
It's you could say so many things, but I think it's just a collective effort in that huddle, looking at each other and being together, and a collective effort to stop the other team, you know what I mean? And you could look at X's and O's, do all this and all that, but it really comes down to that.
And then having a home crowd here, Thanksgiving weekend, a lot going on. We see the record, but being home and winning in this place still matters, right? And having that support.
No doubt, absolutely. And we have great fans through the good and the bad, and division game. And again, you never know. You never know. Crazier things have happened. So just got to go get this one to start.
It's really interesting to hear him talk about how he's been on bad teams, which he has.
Yeah.
And that's the frustrating part is they think or know that they're much better than 2-9. I think we think and know that they are much better than 2-9, and they are not. I think that's got to make it mind-boggling to them, especially. I actually thought about this line of questioning, but I think you had to do it to a veteran player, not like Cam Little last night. I wonder if you sit there for this season for the Jags, and especially over the bye week as you're watching other games, and you're like, it almost festers more that you're 2-9. As you try to get a break from it, you're like, I can't believe it. Like, I just can't. But as you settle in, because you're so week to week and day to day as a player.
Yeah, but to be fair, I'm not sure how many football, how much NFL football they're actually watching.
They might not.
Bye week.
Yeah, they might not. And like to me, that didn't hit again until Sunday when I watched like Houston lose, right? And I'm watching these other teams around the league, and I'm watching the Cowboys win, and like just teams that Carolina hang with Kansas City. Like I was away from it. I was like, okay, forget it, whatever. Trying to get out of it too, as much as you can. Especially after talking about it through Wednesday of last week. But it hit me again on Sunday is the point. It was like, this is infuriating that we are not talking about a football team that at least is in the mix. Like, it's absolutely infuriating. It was almost, I got to the point on Sunday where it was almost as infuriating as watching them play against the Lions. Because it just shouldn't be. Like, it just should. This was not the year to be like that. So I wonder if that resonates at all. I know it doesn't resonate week to week or day to day because they're so busy and locked in, and you guys are different creatures than we are from the outside looking in. But I do think if anybody turned the TV on Sunday to watch some NFL football and they see the standings and where people are, and even Cincinnati's in the hunt at 4-7, and you're like,
bro, even Carolina's kind of in the hunt.
Are they really? How?
More in the hunt than we are.
Like, describe the hunt. Like how much are we hunting here? Are we in the same woods?
Whatever happened to the hunt?
They're
Did
3 games
Jaguars.com
back.
just stop that?
They're 3 games back.
Yeah.
Oh, like the division?
Yeah.
Are they really? Is that it?
Falcons are 6-5. They're 3-8.
Brent, they're eating each other there. They're eating the cats.
6-5.
They're eating the dogs.
Yeah, they're only 3 games
They're eating
out.
the Falcons.
And you'd be like, 6-5 Atlanta.
They're eating the Pirates out of the Bucks.
What's Houston?
3-8. That's
They're
right.
eating the Panthers.
If the Jags had 3 wins, we'd only be how many out? 4?
Yeah. With a chance to
shit.
make it a lot closer this Sunday.
Man. Yeah, okay. So that's why you could tell I got frustrated and infuriated and all the rest of it. But I wonder if that has to do it to them, or if they just see. I do think there's a sense around them, me being around them, the time they've accepted their fate. Like I get it. I respect that they think they're still in it and there's something to play
just
for.
one game at a time, Brent.
Well,
please.
He didn't say that though. I appreciate that. He said, "Let's go win 6 straight."
Yeah, I know.
He's not a cliche guy.
But he also said, let's focus on the next game or whatever.
He did.
Yeah.
But he did. Like, I thought he was going to be like 1-0. He was like, nope, we got to go win 6 straight.
Yeah.
Like, you don't usually hear guys say that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that on him. Hey, just to play a little bit more, Cam Little we had on the show yesterday. It's this. If you had told me back when the Jags draft class that this dude would be as the personality that he is, never would have guessed it. And you're right. I still didn't ask. You got to tell me before we have Cam Little on the show. I still didn't ask him about the cover shoot. Although I think I saw that sweater. I think he had that on the plane to Detroit.
So he had it then.
I think he might have had. What was the sweater? Was it like a white sweater with some
Gucci? I think, yeah.
Did it have a big logo on it? Is that what it was?
Yeah. Well, he's just like it was like a Gucci sweater.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think he might have had that on when he went to Detroit. But I couldn't remember if it was. I'm just thinking about it now that it might have been the same one as that cover shoot. But anyway, we had Cam Little on the show yesterday, and here's a little bit of it from Jags Report Live, where we also got a chance to give away a couple of $1,000 gift certificates to Bears Jewelry. That was a lot of fun. We gave one away to Sally and Skipper. Been married 65 years. They go to every show. Jaguars All Access, Jags Report Live. They go to every Jags home game. They've missed only 2 since the inception of the organization. And we had a chance to give away and surprise them with a $1,000 gift card. So that was really
What a nice sounding couple, Sally and Skipper.
You know what's interesting about? So his name is Milton, but he goes by Skipper.
Oh man,
Good move.
There's a lot of just crazy Milton, Skipper, and Sally.
His last name is Skipper, so he goes by Skipper.
Wait, so her name is Sally Skipper?
Sally Skipper.
Man. Man,
They're the
that's
greatest.
great.
If you
That's awesome.
if you ever watch our shows, they sit like right behind us.
Yeah.
Every show.
The Skippers.
The Skippers. And it was awesome. Very nice people. So married 65 years, by the way.
Man.
So that was cool. Okay.
Send me some. Okay, yeah. Give me a TED Talk, please.
Cam Little. We did have him on the show, and here's a little bit from last night.
We welcome you to Strings on Main Street. We're talking Jacksonville Jaguars, and oh, baby, we got a good show for you tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Oh. That's so cute.
Yeah, that's awesome.
She looks about the same age as our guest, Cam Little.
Haven't heard that.
I thought you were gonna put Cam on the spot and let us tell us if Trevor's playing this week or not.
Oh, fire some questions at him. Yeah. He was there today. What do you think, Cam? Is he playing?
Did he look good in practice?
He looked good in practice. But I couldn't tell you. I mean, I literally just go out there and kick. When we go out there, I just kick the ball when I need to kick the ball during the period. Hey, sometimes I couldn't tell you what's going on in the receivers or DBs.
The way it should be. You just keep doing that.
That's
You're
exactly
doing great.
right.
Welcome, everybody. Jags Report Live. Brent, Martineau, Dan Hicken, Cam Little. Good to have you back, man.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
Well, first of all, did you have a good bye week? Everybody needed a reset around here. How about you?
It was a great bye week. I went back to Oklahoma City. Got to catch a Thunder game, Oklahoma City Thunder game, and some Arkansas alum was playing, so I got to do a jersey swap with him, Jalen Williams. So it's his second year with them, so I got to do that. And also went down to Arkansas and watched them beat up on Louisiana Tech. So that was Two of my teams got wins this weekend.
Now, because you're an NFL player and you went to Oklahoma City to see the Thunder, are the seats better now?
Oh, yeah.
Are we courtside now?
Better than what I used to be sitting at when I was in, funny you mentioned that, when I was back in like first, second, third, fourth grade.
Yeah.
My parents would occasionally get like Loud City, which is like the very top row. They would tell me like, hey, as soon as you get home, get ready because we're going to the Thunder game tonight. I used to get so excited.
Yeah.
And I'd love sitting in Loud City because in Loud City, the concessions would serve funnel cakes. And down in the bottom rows, they wouldn't serve the funnel cakes. So I would always be so excited about that. And to think, I was so excited about sitting there. And now I'm sitting 3 rows up, right by courtside. So it's such a sick experience.
They love their Thunder there, man.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. Huge Thunder.
Yeah.
Huge. That's the only professional sports team we have in Oklahoma. So it's big to them.
Yeah.
Favorite Thunder player growing up with all the big
Oh, my
three?
gosh.
What you have? You had Harden, and Westbrook, and Durant.
I had a Westbrook signed jersey, Jeff Green. I had Harden. I had Ibaka. I had all of those. Nick Collison. It was hard to say, but, when Harden was playing for them, it was really hard to not like him. Fear the Beard was such a big thing when he was playing for him, but just watching them play was so fun.
Cam, I bet it helps you understand in a way when you deal with fans today, right? Because in Oklahoma City, that one team, like you said, here in Jacksonville, it's the same thing. We have sons. They've grown up with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Every year they get the jerseys. They've had them all. Yeah. They've gone through it. And you could probably relate to them on a different level, probably.
100%. Even in, bringing it back to Arkansas, they don't have a pro sports team. The Razorbacks are their quote-unquote pro sports team. So, seeing it all in three different areas is so cool, and I think it's cool that I've gotten to kind of experience what a single team can do for a city and a state.
Not to make you uncomfortable, but right now Brooks and Ty are pretty pissed off at the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I'm just going to be honest with you. Back from the bye week, what's the feeling? What's the feeling in the building when you get refreshed a little bit, and now you got a 6-game stretch, and you just got to go try to make things right?
Man, we're pumped about it. The energy was a lot different today than it has been in the past couple. I guess 2 weeks you could really say. And going into the Detroit game, we felt like we had a lot of energy. But for any team, the bye week is going to kind of reset you a little bit and give your, guys time, especially as a banged-up football team as we are, to kind of get recovery and go into these next 6 weeks guns a-blazing. And so the energy levels were pretty high today, and we're just ready to go take on these next 6 teams and get 1-0 each week. That's always Coach Peterson's motto is go 1-0 each week. And so when we go out there against the Texans this week, we go out there thinking we can get the W.
Has the rookie season been everything that you expected? Has there been any twists and turns? Has there been some surprises, or has it kind of gone sort of as you expected?
Yeah, obviously me going into preseason and seeing the team that we had, obviously we're thinking we're going to go out there and get a couple more wins. But it's been such a cool experience with Ross and Logan, I think, especially because I've had vets that have kind of walked me through it all. And it's a lot different than what I expected it to be just on a specialist level. The length of the season, I think, has been the biggest shock to me. So that part of it has been a little bit of a grind, especially from about week 8 to 12. Yeah. Especially after I got back from London. Because right now I'd be scotch-free. College football season's over being here. Yeah. And so that looks a lot different. So that's definitely something new to me.
Well, this is a weird question, but how's the leg holding up?
It's holding up really well, especially after the bye week. I've done a lot better job in the NFL taking care of my body and taking care of my leg than I have, necessarily in college. I'd be kicking 4 times a week in college, but, since the season's longer, we only kick 2 times a week to kind of keep my leg on a quote-unquote pitch count. It feels refreshed and ready to go especially after the bye week.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting, huh?
Yeah.
That
Only twice.
I didn't realize he kicked just twice a week and 4 times in college, like all that stuff. It was another fascinating part about that conversation. We ended up getting into his 59-yard kick against the Lions, and when he came into the show, we started the show with that as he was walking in, and he saw who went? Did Stewart go? Yeah, Stewart was in Detroit, so he saw Stewart's shot from the side. It was like a side view, and he's like, I hadn't seen that. And he said, I guess I had a few more yards. Like he thought he did. I had a few more yards. Probably could have kicked that from like 63 or 64. And the way he got it. One other thing about that kick, he actually broke his cleat on the kick. His shoe split. He had the cleat he was wearing for most of the season. I think he ended up telling me it was 13 straight kicks.
With that cleat?
With that cleat, including that one. And Logan or somebody was like, hey, go back. It literally like split right where he kicked it.
Dang.
He's like, you should go get new cleats. He's like, nah, I'm all right. Like he kicked the next one.
Was it a soccer cleat?
Yeah, he's got a soccer cleat.
Yeah.
So he kicked the next one with the broken cleat. And the only reason I know that story is there was a guy who, these guys collect all this stuff. He got the cleat. And so he had him sign it.
Weird.
Yeah.
Huh.
But actually, that's a good one. He broke the cleat on the 59-yarder.
That's
kind of a fun story around it.
That's a big signing right there.
So anyway, that's some fun Cam Little. I mean, that dude, he is talk about energy.
Yeah.
It was a year ago today, by the way, not to make everybody sad, that the Jags were 8-3 getting ready for Monday Night Football against the Cincinnati Bengals.
Appreciate.
And it was all downhill from there.
Appreciate it.
Seriously,
It was all downhill.
Where did you think at that time the Jags were going? Do you remember thinking?
Yep, I remember because I did a podcast with somebody and I got all cocky and said this game's going to be tailor-made for more confidence. The Jaguars are going to roll from here. Never forget it. Couldn't have been more wrong.
And yet we still want to take them against the Texans this Sunday.
Yeah.
Were you? I don't think I was thinking this team's going to win a Super Bowl, but I was thinking this team has a real chance at that number 1 seed. But they remember now they were going to play a tough stretch. It was Cincinnati. The thing is, you had the backup quarterback in Jake Browning, and so Cincinnati was reeling.
Correct.
And then you had whatever it looked like. You had the Ravens, right? We didn't know the Bucs were playing well until the Bucs were playing well, but you did have the Titans and Carolina down the stretch of the season. So I think there was a 4-game stretch with the Browns because they were playing pretty well, if I remember correctly, with Flacco and stuff. So there was a 4-game stretch that was going to get tough. It was Cincinnati back up Monday night. You hope you win, but then also go to Cleveland in December, tough. Then Ravens home Sunday night, and then the Bucs so in that 4-game stretch, you're like, all right, win 2 of these. You're 10-5, and you got Carolina 11-5, and you got the Titans. We'll see if it even matters.
Yep.
But 11-6, 12-5. That was real. That was the realistic plan at that point. Oof, were we wrong?
What a way to end the show, Brent.
I'm just keeping it real.